Hey YouTube, I'm Chris, taking a break from the different reel-to-reel music tape videos and other music remix videos I've been doing. This is going to be a part 2 of the retro TRS-80 Color Computer 1 laptop from 1980 and converting that into a my own little laptop I can use today. It's going to run Windows 10. So just to maybe recap from the last video, part 1, we'll post a link to that, and that's where I took this original motherboard. This is a 1980 Color Computer 1 motherboard, and I bought it from eBay. The person that was selling it thought it probably didn't work, but didn't know for sure, And so in my last video I mentioned that it probably just didn't work at all because there's a missing chip here. Well, it turned out that there was a viewer that wrote in and told me this is actually the Extended Color Basic ROM. That's where that would go, and that's why it's missing. And I forgot all about that. I one time had this a computer just like this, maybe way back in the late 80s. It was a Color Computer 1. It was already upgraded to Extended Color Basic and 64K RAM. But this board here only has 4K of RAM, and so you're going to need at the very minimum 16K of RAM in it to have the Extended Color Basic ROM there. So so it can be upgraded and expanded with these memory chips to 16K. Just switch the jumper over, put in the Extended Color Basic ROM if I could find one, and maybe see if it works. But probably what I could do is I could just hook up the power supply back up to it and plug it in just to see if it would just turn on. And I could hook up a cable, like a RG6 cable here as a small little adapter. It's just a couple of bucks. I can plug in here and it can go into the cable in of the TV. And so I might make another video of that just to show you what I mean. So anyway, thanks for that other viewer that mentioned about that. So he's correct on that. I just totally forgot all about that. So I might mess with it sometime later, see if it works or not. Maybe I might even sell it on eBay. I don't know quite yet what I want to do with it. It's only got 4K of RAM, so there's not a whole lot I'm going to be able to do with it. I don't really have much room for it either. And I got all my bags here. All my extra parts and pieces for building my little laptop here. And since my last video, part 1, I went on Amazon and I bought some switches with LED lights. So the green one is for power and the red one is for the hard disk activity. And I got them screwed in right to the side of the plastic, although the drill skated and I put a hole in not where I wanted it, but it's not like that's going to be all that visible. So other than that, I've been doing my best to tuck in all these other cables. I got these other cables kind of set up. I put in a cooling fan to draw air in from the bottom, and it's not a all that powerful fan. It's maybe only got 1500 RPM out of it, and I was hoping that maybe just enough would help, if better than nothing, to have air come in and try to keep this cool down. And so I've been working on the cable management, and I do have this all installed. I got it mostly installed with screws on the bottom. I glued one section of it on the corner over there. So this is all put together, and also what I did was I went to Amazon. I bought some monetary switches. They're normally off, and I got them pretty much screwed right in through the plastic and got them wired up. And so then I was also kind of waiting for some other parts to show up as well, and saving up my money for the parts to show up. And so one of the things I got is this 960 Pro, the solid state drive. This is an M.2. This is a 512 gigabit. I'm only going to use this just for Windows and drivers. I'm not really planning on putting games on it, although it's got more than enough space in it for games, but I wasn't planning to. So this goes in very easily, just kind of goes in that slot just one way, and just goes in that slot. It's just kind of just shifts in there, and it's in, and then you just have to lay it down, and you get a little screw in that little hole. And so I will do that. I'll get my hands free, and then when I get that secured on, I will put this on here, and this lights up, which you may not have seen that before, but so I'll get that screwed back in. And then also I got a 1 terabit solid state drive, the 860 Evo from Samsung. This is where all of the games, programs, pictures, whichever, will go on here, and then that will last me a while. And then I'm going to install Windows 10, and this is a 64-bit. It has a little USB drive in it, so I'm planning on putting that little USB drive in the side there, and we'll kind of get it booted up, and we'll see it all get installed there on that monitor, and then we'll kind of go on from there. And also, the other thing I was wanting to show you before I go too much into it was that's my very bad carving. I keep thinking, maybe I'll tell everybody that some, scary alien creature with very sharp claws got into it, and, trying to defend myself, and put his several huge thick claws all through there. So I like to believe that, but actually what happened was that this is a replacement cover. This is a replacement plastic cover. You can see this is different from the last video. This was over here on the last video. So this cover is from 1982 Color Computer 1, and the guy was just only selling the cover. And since I nicked up and scratched up and kind of cut up the other one kind of badly, I wanted to buy this one, and then I took my time with my Dremel tool, and I tried to carefully measure out best I could to cut out the sections I needed, so it wasn't quite so bad and cut terrible and gappy and all of that stuff. And I even cut a section all down through here best I could. There's still a bit of a gap here on the top, and a bit of a gap here on this side here, but that will allow just a bit more air into it. And then you can see I have my Windows Cherry keyboard installed with a little cutout. I cut out the little section of the plastic so the little lights will show through, and you can also see that's the stickers I put on it. So that's really gonna fool everybody. So I got the keyboard in there with this metal strap, and I screw it in. There's a couple of plastic standoffs down there, so I took a couple screws best I could, got them all screwed all in on both sides, and I took a little bit of Gorilla Glue, and I went along the very bottom edge, very bottom edge of this keyboard with some glue, and got it on there, so it's not going to really go anywhere. And so the reason I made this with my Dremel tool, and I will admit it's probably not the prettiest thing. But like I say, make it always look like an alien creature got to it from some computer game. But what happened was I had this new cover on, and I was testing it this past weekend, and the CPU fan would speed up to the maximum RPMs because it just wasn't drawing in any air. And I tried several different things, several different ideas, and I couldn't get it to draw in air any better. And then several times, more than once, the CPU got to be near overheating. It got to be something like, I can't remember, 80 degrees Celsius or something like that, and it was like red line. So, you know, it got to be right at 80 degrees, and I just had to pull the cover off, let it cool back down, and there just really wasn't any other way around it. Even with that fan going as quick as it would go, it just wasn't blowing in any kind of air to keep it cool. So that left me with the only other option, which was to go ahead and cut into this, and I kind of wish I didn't have those on there, but anyway. So I took my drum knoll, and so at least I now have these vents here, and I put it all back on, and the CPU fan is now at its normal speed, and it does draw in air, and so it is much cooler. So at least it's now drawing in much cooler air than none at all. So, but the other part of it too is that that monitor is going to sit here. It's going to probably sit in this space. It's going to cover up maybe just a little bit of this, but it won't be too much. So I'm going to cover up as much of this as I'm able to with that monitor stand, and the rest of this will still draw in air for the CPU. So I've been working on all of this for the last good couple of weeks, and so now we're to the point where I kind of got the remaining pieces that I needed to get it all the rest of it put together, and get Windows installed on it, and those kinds of good things. So I'm going to proceed now with the putting together the rest of it. Okay, I now have the little solid state drive in the little slot there. Like I mentioned earlier, it only goes in one way. I've got it in as far as it's going to go. So now all I've got to do is take this tiny, teeny little screw, you can barely see, and hopefully get it secured in here. And then I will take this this cover here, this metal cover I got, and here we go. So I will install that. There's a little pin on it, so the LED will light up. So that's only going to go in one way, screws in one way. Okay, now we got the long screw and a short one. So I'll do the short one first. That I had the cover not quite in a tiny little connector. It's pretty hard to see, so I had to kind of move it around a little bit. I just had to move this over just a bit so it get into the connector better, and then the screw would finally feed through. Now I'm going to install the solid state drive. Let's see here. I've got that little solid state drive installed with the cover on it. I'm now going to go ahead and install the other solid state drive, the 1 terabit. It's going to screw in this tray, and I have a Velcro. This is the super Velcro all on it, so if I ever need to pull it off, I'd be able to. And I was looking at installing it pretty much right there, like that. So, but we need to get it mounted. So there is the solid state drive, and they don't give you any screws or hardware, but that's okay, I got those. So get this installed here. Got that lined up where I want it. Probably can't really see all that good. I'm going to just get that secured on. Got those snug enough, and I'll just remove this. And it's going to go that way, so you can see the little, see that was pretty cool. Suppose I probably should have put it further over this way, but we'll see. As long as it plugs in fine. If I have to, I could always just take it off and reposition it. Yeah, I'll have to redo it. I'll be right back. Okay, just take a little bit to pull it off, put it where I want it. So it should now, these cables will plug in much easier. There's the power. Of course, it's only going to plug in one way, so yeah, I got that right. I got that plugged in, and I got the data cable. It's only going to plug in one way. It's going to be a pain to get it in there since I got no room for anything else. If it's up, if it's up a little bit, then that's okay too. But the important thing is it's gonna not go anywhere. So I got the so this did kind of lift up a little bit to plug that data cable in. I mean, I can always take it out. I could get one where it's a straight end on both sides, or straight edge, whatever. But then, that's okay too. It's not going to go anywhere, and if I need to, I can still pull that off. So that will work. I can live with that. And then I got all these other cables here. I'm not really using for anything at the moment, but if a need arises, I could. So we got those in, and now, so I'm getting close to going ahead and installing Windows 10. I now have everything installed that I want. As I mentioned, I got that installed, plugged in. I got the solid state drive for that installed, plugged in. I know it works, and so everything else is all connected and working. And if I wanted to, I could always replace this. I can take this out, and I can always put in another 1 terabit solid state drive if I want to. So this is an option. You can either have a fan in there. This is the biggest, well, not the biggest, but this is the only size fan I have that would fit in here. Everything else I have is either too small or way too giant big. So that's the only one I can find right now, and that's not going to be able to find one right now. It's going to probably spin any faster than 1500 RPMs. So otherwise, I also have this little mouse touchpad. Bought this off eBay. I'm planning on using this for the little laptop, or what I could do is I can always, which the thing is that it plugs in, and it'll plug into the side in here. Or the other thing I can do is I can just not have to use this, and I can just get a little wireless Bluetooth mouse, and so there's no cable running around anywhere. So I'll have to, do more thinking about that. So, but I did test out that little mouse pad, and it does work. So the only thing I got left to do is to take my cover here. I got the keyboard cable through there, and I also made a couple little notches here for the power switches. So we'll just put this on. Just like that, and then I'll need to turn it over and put the screws in the bottom of it. And just so you can see, I just need to kind of keep it closed up together enough so I can get it a couple screws in it. But I did trim that a lot better. It was a big gaping vent before, and so that's a little bit better. It's not perfect, obviously. I mean, I probably should have not cut quite so much off, but it will still allow in a little bit of extra air into it. And the same thing with this. It's not quite as gaping open as before, but again, I probably should have measured it just a bit better. So, but still, extra air will get into it. And so I got it all on there. I got the keyboard running through here. I got it plugged into the back, and that frees up this whole side for, you know, headphones and other USB drives and whichever. And so just that, in case I didn't mention it before very well, this is going to be the power. That's the power switch, and that's the reset switch. And as you can see, that it says reset, so it's almost kind of where it's supposed to be. So I've got them both together, so let's power it up. Probably won't be able to see, but the fan is in there. You might even maybe see it, the fan moving or turning. So there's a little beep, a little beep speaker installed. You can see the fan moving right there. You can see I just don't really have any room. It's almost right up against that plastic cover. So I had to go ahead and make all of those cuts into the plastic so the CPU can breathe. And you can see all the various little lights all inside. And like someone suggested, I could make some kind of a plexiglass clear cover, which is probably going to be quite a bit of work and a lot of glue, and I'm sure I probably won't do all that great trying to cut a square out. But it would be kind of a cool idea too. Maybe someday, I don't know, I'll have to see. So, and there's my power LED. And so you already have a message on here about to reboot and select the proper boot device. So let's see if we can install Windows 10 and maybe perhaps get it all activated. So I'm now going into BIOS and to get it to boot off of the Windows 10 USB, which looks like this. Hope you can see that okay. I'll plug it into the side. I don't think it, as far as I know, it shouldn't matter. But if I need to, I can always just plug it around the back. And I'm sure you're probably hearing the CPU fan spool up quite a bit, as it is warm in here. But I'm not sure if you can really see that all too well, since I don't have a screen capture right now to use. The CPU temperature is right at 55 degrees Celsius, and this past weekend, when I had the other cover on, or not the other cover, but before I cut in the vent holes in the top cover, it was up there like 80 degrees Celsius, like red line, and which is obviously not good for it. So it's a lot cooler now than it was. And again, I'm not sure if you can see all too good, but there's a Samsung solid state drive for the that's a 512 gigabit, and there is the USB drive for the Windows 10. So what I could do is I could just go and select that. Oh, here we go. That's what I was looking for, is this boot override thing. Let's see. Yeah, here we go. So I just went into that from BIOS, went right to that little Windows 10 USB. So I'm going to select the 64-bit. I got my little mouse, little mouse pad connected. To install. Put the key in. I'm going to do just the install Windows only, since I don't have any files, settings, or applications on here I need to save. So I'm going to put this, it says it's on, I guess the little solid state drive, 512 gigabit is a drive 1. So that's okay. I'm sure it will still work the same. So when I get back to rebooting, I'll just go back into BIOS and I'll get into the boot section of BIOS, so it will start booting off the little solid state drive. And again, and I'll show you that as it's installing Windows. This is all on this pretty much a 1980 Color Computer 1. And so here in a little while I'll mount that big monitor here. I'll show you that. I got several of these you know, Velcro dual lock from GM. I can mount that with right there on the cover. There's really no place else to mount it to or put it. So that's pretty cool. I'm running Windows 10 on this 1980 Radio Shack Color Computer 1, and so it is pretty cool. And you really probably can't see, but I can see just a little bit of LED lighting coming through here on the edge. So I'd like to show you, I'm back in BIOS, and I have the boot option number 1 as the Samsung solid state drive 512 gigabit, and then just in case, I also have this set all up to just boot straight off the 960 solid state drive 512 gigabit, and the rest of these they don't really have to be anything. But the hard drive priority, I have it set for the 512 gigabit solid state drive to boot first, and then number 2 is the 1 terabit drive. and then I got USB, which is really nothing on there. And so I will save, and before I do that I'll take out the USB for Windows 10. I'll save it. I pulled the Windows 10 USB out of the USB port and see if it will boot to Windows. So we got Windows 10 back up, and I can now go ahead and I can connect to the Wi-Fi. Just wanted to show you the solid state drive LED is flashing, so I got that plugged in correctly. I did not want to install these little LED lights on the top cover. I did originally wanted to do that, but I thought the more I have things not on that top cover, the better off it will be, just in case I need to take it off to change something or replace or whichever it might be. Okay, so I got Windows mostly installed. All I got left to do on it, just to I need to get onto the Republic of Gamers website, installed all the latest drivers for this motherboard, and I can go ahead and do that. So that means I need to install the video drivers, the audio drivers, video drivers, all that good stuff. So, but other than that, it's working. And I did try to put this little Velcro double-sided thing on this, and I'm finding out that unfortunately it's made of a kind of material it's not going to stick on. So it doesn't stick on anything. It's kind of like, this is like a rubber material, and so it's not going to stick on it no matter, you know, not going to stick on there real well. You know, it easily probably would come off, but I don't know, I may have to think of something else, or I could still try it, but it's just going to come off of there pretty easily. So I may have to think of something else and work on it. I could try to put on another stand some way for some, I don't know how I'm going to bolt it, but there's some other stand somehow or other I could attach. I wouldn't know how that's going to work. Or I could just leave it like that, and I can always just, you know, have it sit on there, and I can always just easily just remove it off the case and onto a table if I need to do that too. So anyway, so I do have a working Windows 10 machine that's inside of a 1980 TRS-80 Radio Shack Color Computer 1. And I went into BIOS, made some changes with the CPU fan so it's not quite screaming so loud. I made a change there, and so it's not quite so noisy. Made some other changes and minor changes in BIOS. So I do have a working machine with the LEDs all working. I can use that. As far as I know, that's all working. And I do, as you noticed earlier, I do have Wi-Fi at the Wi-Fi antennas here. So those are plugged in, into the board, and I do have, which as you can see, the audio jacks all light all up, so I like that. And I do have a Ethernet port, which you can't see obviously. Anyway, but somewhere in there I got the Ethernet port. Can't see anything, but anyway, I can plug in my Ethernet cable in there, and I got, you know, several other, a couple of other USB ports I can use. So I know this is off a little crooked, but not too bad. So just a matter of just making sure that the CPU is always going to get adequate air getting into it, so it won't get too hot. And I could, of course, it's awfully warm in here too, so as it gets cooler in here, it won't be working quite so hard. So that's my project regarding my little homemade laptop. You know, I can always just, you know, showed you earlier, I can always just fold this screen down. I can still carry it around. It's still a rather, it's not heavy, but it is weigh some. I don't have a weight number right now, but the heaviest thing in this computer is going to be the little 400 watt power supply. That's the heaviest thing that's in here. Everything else is just really paper light. So anyways, well, thank you very much for watching. Give me a like and subscribe to my channel, and look forward to some happy positive comments, and I'll see you on the next project I'll be working on.